Today we're going to be subtracting mixed numbers with renaming. So it's going to practice all the skills that we've been building on, okay? And it's going to ask or add kind of one little step to it. So, and the one little step is not anything that we don't already know. We're just going to do it with fractions instead of with whole numbers. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So remember, when you're subtracting, if the top number is smaller than the bottom number, we usually do what's called borrowing, which also can be called renaming, because what you're doing is you're changing the one number and you're giving it a new name so that you're able to subtract it, okay? So we're renaming it. So for example, if we had something like 21 minus 16, okay? So if we were just doing regular numbers, we can't take 6 away from 1. 1's not big enough. So we would have to borrow and do what we call renaming. So we would come over here, the 2 would become a 1, and this would become an 11. I'm going to explain why, because it's going to make sense when we look at the fractions. The reason that this will become an 11 is because you are taking 10, you're taking 1 10, so you're borrowing 10 from the tens place. So instead of having 2 10s, you now have 1 10, and you're going to add that other 10 over here, and 10 plus 1 is 11. So that's where that comes from. And just again, it's always a good reminder anyway, okay? 30 minus 19, okay? You cannot take 9 away from 0, so you would borrow. Instead of having 3 10s, you now have 2 10s. And you're going to add that 10 to here, and 0 plus 10 is 10. So that's where that comes from. This is your renaming, okay? You're borrowing and you're renaming. So the same thing is going to happen when we're dealing with fractions. When we're dealing with fractions, there's something we need to do first. We always need to check to see if our fractions have the same denominator. Okay, so I have 6 1/5 minus 3 6/10. So I can't even subtract them the way that they are until I change them so they have the same denominator. So I would find the multiples of 5 and 10, but I don't have to go very far because I know 5 and 10 both share 10. All right? So that means that this one's going to stay, and this top one is going to get changed to tenths. Okay? So it's going to become, let's see, I have to ask myself, 5 times what equals 10? 5 times 2 equals 10, and if I multiply the bottom by 2, I have to also multiply the top by 2. So 1/5 is going to become 2 tenths. So it's going to be 6 and 2 tenths now, minus 3 6 tenths. So just because I have a whiteboard and it's easy for me, I'm going to erase the old number and put the new number in. All right? So, but I still can't subtract because I cannot take 6 away from 2. Okay? It's not big enough. So I need to borrow. But in this case, I'm borrowing from the ones place, okay? So the 6 and the 3 are in the ones place. So I need to borrow 1 whole, okay? So this will become a 5, and I need to add a whole to this. Now here's the thing. I can't add 1 to 2 and get 3 tenths. I can't do that. Wrong, okay? The reason I can't do that is because then I would be, if I added just 1 to the top, that would be like adding 1/10. And I'm not borrowing 1/10, I'm borrowing a whole. So I need to ask myself, if I have tenths, how much would a whole be? Well, a whole 1 would be 10 tenths. So what I'm really doing is I'm adding 10 tenths, because 10 tenths is what a whole would be if your denominator was 10. So 2 tenths plus 10 tenths, all my examples today are using 12, would make 12 tenths. So my new numerator is going to be 12. And then I can subtract. 12 minus 6 is 6, which is 6 tenths. 5 minus 3 is 2, so I have 2 6 tenths. Okay? One very important thing, always check to make sure your answer is in simplest form. So is there a number we can divide both 6 and 10 by? Hopefully you guys know this without me having to tell you. But if you're not sure, you would find your factors of 6 and 10. How can I make 6 and how can I make 10? 1 times 6, 2 times 3, 1 times 10, 2 times 5. So 6 and 10, the biggest number they share is 2. So that means I can divide both 6 and 10 by 2. So 6 divided by 2, 10 divided by 2, it's going to give me 3/5. So my final answer is 2 3/5. So those are kind of all our steps put together. So now I'm just going to show you a couple examples of how to borrow without kind of going through all this work. Make sure you remember, before you can do anything, your fractions have to have the same denominator, okay? So just to keep it easy, I'm going to just use some examples of having the same denominator. So let's say we've got 4 and 1/5, let's say. Let's say 4 and 1/5. Minus 2 and 4/5. So I'm going to be easy on you. I'm going to make my denominators the same from the start, okay? But I cannot subtract 4 from 1. The number on top's got to be bigger. So I need to borrow. I'm going to come over here, and this is going to become a 3. This is the ones place. So I'm borrowing 1 whole from the ones place, okay? Well, if I have fifths, 1 whole would be 5/5. So I would add 5/5 to this, and my new fraction would be 6/5. Now I'm going to show you a shortcut, which is going to make your life easier. When you borrow, if you want to know what your numerator is going to change to, tell your brain, pay attention, okay? If you want to know what your numerator is going to change to, all you have to do is add this plus that. 5 plus 1 is 6. Your new numerator is going to be 6. It's going to work every time. Let's try a couple of other examples. Let's go with 5 and 11/20 minus 2 and 15/20. We cannot take 15 from 11, so we need to borrow. We're borrowing from the ones place, so we're borrowing a whole. Come over here, this becomes a 4. Shortcut. I want to know what my new numerator is going to be. I can't talk today. It's like a tongue twister. Add this plus this. 20 plus 11 is 31. Your new numerator is 31. Now you can subtract. Let's do another one. 8 and 2/7 minus 4 and 5/7. Okay? We cannot take 5 away from 2. 2 is too small. We borrow from the ones place. We have to add 1 whole over here. 1 whole is 7/7. Here's a shortcut. 7 plus 2 is 9. Your new numerator is going to be 9. All right, one more for luck. All right. 3 and 5/8 minus 2 and 7/8. We cannot take 7 from 5 because 7 is bigger than 5. We need to borrow. We borrow from the ones place. We add a whole here. The shortcut is bottom plus top will tell you your new numerator. 8 plus 5 is 13. So your numerator will become 13. All right, good luck.